I've been a fan of the New Orleans Saints for most of my life. Well, really ever since I got into football. It was the Steelers first, and will always be the Steelers, but then the New Orleans Saints. So you can imagine how pleased I was watching them go into Philly, stroll into Philly, and escape with an overtime victory over the third-seeded Eagles. I enjoyed every minute of it. I did. Because if you look at the experts, the so-called what they thought was going to happen, they were so off it wasn't even funny.
Let's see if I can find a play. See if I can find what I'm looking for here. Here he is.
Here's what the experts predicted was going to happen on ESPN. TJ, Tom Jackson, thought 27-16 Eagles. Chris Carter, 34-24. Keyshawn thought a blowout 35-14. Ditka saw and Lewis saw close games. Boomer saw a close game as well. Well now, it's nice knowing that I'm smarter than a bunch of experts. I mean, I knew going into this game that I know Philadelphia is good, but New Orleans is more experienced in the playoffs, and I think it'll pay off. But what I think was critical for New Orleans in this game was they ran the football exceptionally well. I guarantee if you'd asked any coach in the NFL, if you were playing against Drew Brees and the Saints, and you limited him to 250 yards and two interceptions and only one touchdown, what do you think the outcome would be? All of them would probably tell you a win. And well, the Eagles, they took care and made sure that Drew Brees wasn't going to beat them. I think they forgot about the running game. I know Pierre Thomas out, no worries. Mark Ingram has a big game, Get some other guys to come in and, rotate in. And I'll have Pierre Thomas back next week when they go to Seattle. But Saints' run game was what won them this game. It was an incredibly consistent performance. I mean, they ran the ball early, they ran it often, they ran it late. 94 yards in the first half, 91 in the second. Played well. They absolutely deserved to beat the Eagles, who did make enough big plays on offense. They might have come alive late in the game, but by that time, it was way too late to make any kind of difference. And if anything, Nick Foles had an okay game, but, LaShawn McCoy was shut down. And ironically enough, the Saints running game was really what won the game. And I think that was a lot of people, surprised a lot of people. But going forward for Philadelphia, they started off neck and neck with New Orleans. Then New Orleans took the big lead, 20-7. Then it was 23-17 at one point. Eagles drove down the field, got the touchdown pass from Nick Foles, make it 24-23. And then Saints drive down the field after the nice grinded out little drive and the dumb horse collar penalty on the kickoff return. Kick a field goal as time expires, win the game. Philadelphia, they got some growing pains. They do. The defense has played better this year, much better than years past, couple past years, but the offense is inconsistent. I think this year, if they'd had Jeremy Maclin, who was injured in the training camp, on the first day of training camp, might I add you, I think this would have been a team that could have won more games than it did, because that's just another weapon for Nick Foles. Well, if Jason Avant to go along with Brent Selleck and LaShawn McCoy next year, that is a pretty damn good group of weapons, if you ask me. And the defense playing better. The Eagles are probably going to be the best team in the NFC East for the next few years. I mean, Washington, they have no defense, and as far as I'm concerned, that organization is complete disarray. They'll have one good year and then 5 shitty ones. The Giants, they had a down year on offense, and I think Eli Manning's on his downside. And the Cowboys are the Cowboys. You don't know what you're going to get out of them. Probably another 8-8 season. They're not bad enough to lose more games than they need to, but they're not good enough to make the games count. So yeah. And there's one statement about this Eagles team I'd like to repeat. I said that coming into the season that the hiring of Chip Kelly was the dumbest hiring or acquisition of the offseason. And I would like to say that I was wrong. What he did for Nick Foles and what he did for this whole team, I think it speaks volume. He was the perfect fit for the job, and I have to give Philly a lot of credit because I myself wouldn't have hired him, not because of his credentials, but because of what the team needed. But hey, he got a lot out of this football team that was so horrible the previous year. But for the Saints, their defense has not been given enough credit this year. It really hasn't been. I mean, you think of the elite defenses in the league, you think of the Panthers, you think of the Seahawks, you think of the 49ers, you even think of the Steelers. With the Saints this year, I'll give you their numbers. They were 19th in the NFL against the run. Respectable. They're not giving up that many yards. They were second in the league in passing yards and fourth in terms of points and yards. This was a football team that was very, very well-rounded. And when the running game started to go at the end of the season, like if you look at 2 of the last 3 games against Carolina in one of them and against Philadelphia, they've topped 100 yards rushing. Over their last 3 games, they've averaged 136 yards rushing. And that's going to be very key to go and face a Seattle Seahawks team that isn't no slouch on defense. Fewest points in the league allowed. First in yards and points, in turnovers, passing yards, and 7th against the run, and only allowing 4 rushing touchdowns. That's going to be a tough team to beat. I will say that it's going to be really tough for them to win, but I think they can do it. But going forward, I'd like to say that it's very rare to think of this, but for the first time, maybe in the Saints' history, Drew Brees had a bad game, did not have a great game of quarterback, but the Saints won. What does that tell you? Yes, Drew Brees is the big reason why they won that game. Without him, they would have gotten smoked like 30 points. But just goes to show you, I think that the fact that this team is a 6th seed, I think actually does them a favor. And the favor that does them is that no one's giving them a chance. They're going into Seattle next week, and they're not given a chance again. Here's the list. Here's this. I'm looking right now at the lines for this weekend. Seattle is favored by 8.5. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm a Super Bowl winning coach with a Super Bowl MVP quarterback, one of the top offenses and defenses in the league, and I'm going on the road, and I'm all of a sudden 8.5 to 9-point underdog, I'd be pissed. I'd be feel that we're getting slighted. Yes, I know this has a lot to do with the fact that they got smoked in Seattle in the regular season, but those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Let's not forget the 2010 season. The New England Patriots had the highest scoring offense in the game. Brady had 36 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. Rolled to a 14-2 record. Jets snuck into the playoffs with 11 wins as the 6th seed. And the divisional round, actually, I think it was Thursday right after Thanksgiving, the Jets rolled into New England and were beaten 45-3. They came back about a month later for the playoffs and beat the Patriots 28-21. What does that tell you? It tells you that fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think the fact that Sean Payton has a week to prepare for these guys, he's played them once before, he knows what they like and what they don't like. and the fact that this team, I think, is better equipped now because they got the road playoff, they got the road win, they're mentally prepared. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, don't sleep on the Seahawks. Don't sleep on the Saints against the Seahawks. They're not going to get drilled like they did last time. All right, that has to do for this game. Final wrap-up segment. The San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. Stay tuned.